Exercise 2. Wanda Driver wants to buy a car in 3 years. She deposits $900 at the end of every 3 months in a savings account that earns 6.8% annually, compounded quarterly. How much does she have at the end of 3 years? Using the spreadsheet, we want to set it up so that we can see how our investment grows at the end of each period and the final investment. So let's start by putting in the values from the problem into our annuity, annual interest rate, and number of periods per year. So she's putting in $900 each period. The annual interest rate is 6.8%. And because she's putting it in every 3 months, that's going to be 4 times a year. So the number of periods per year is going to be 4. Just to simplify when we're figuring out our interest later on, we're actually going to figure out what the interest is per period right in this top box. So in F6, we're just going to take our annual interest and divide it by the number of periods per year and we get the formula. We get an answer of 1.7% per period. Okay, now we're going to fill out our spreadsheet on the bottom. I'm just going to start with this column right here in B is the year. Now we've got payment period. Now there's 4 periods per year, and I want to know like where year 1 is, where year 2 is, where year 3 is. So for the year, we can put in the formula. It's the payment period divided by how many periods there are per year. Now the A9 is always going to be the cell directly to the left, but the F5, I always want it to be F5, so I need to lock that cell. So I'm going to put in the $. And I know after the first payment period, quarter of a year has passed. And I'm just going to fill that right down to 12, just to make sure these make sense. After the second period, we'll have half a year. The third period is a quarter of a year. It's 3/4 of a year. 1 year occurs at the end of period 4, 2 years end at the period 8, and 3 years end with the period 12. Now, Wanda is putting in her $900 at the end of each period, so we're going to be starting with $0 at the beginning of beginning of the first period. So we're just going to place in 0. And yes, we don't have any money to make any interest on, so we know that the interest earned at the end of this period is going to be 0, but we're going to put in the formula now, and then we can just use it, cut it, and paste it later. So we just want to know what the interest is made in this period. The interest is made on the principal, which is the value of the interest at the beginning of the period, times the interest rate. And the interest rate is the 1.7, and it's always going to be that cell, so I need to lock that cell. So I'm going to put the $. And our time is just 1 because it's just 1 period that we're adding the interest for. So we're done. That's our formula. So C9 times $F $6. The payment is going to be the 900, and we're taking that out of cell F3 always. So we're taking it out of cell F3, and I'm going to lock that cell. So when we press enter, we should get $900. And the value of the investment then would be the value of the start plus the interest earned plus the payment. So in this case, I'm going to go with equals C9 plus D9 plus E9. Enter. And at the end of the first year, we have $900 in our investment. Now at the beginning of our second period, we now have $900 in our investment. So the $900 in F9 is now going to be carried to C10. So C10 is just going to equal whatever value is in F10. The interest earned is now going to be our 900 times our interest rate. Now we've already got that formula, so I'm just going to do a copy paste. I'm going to go Control C for copy, move into the cell I want it to go into, Control V for paste, and on the $900 we're making $15.30 of interest. Our payment again is going to be $900. It's going to be the same as it was in the row above. So I'm going to just do again a copy and a paste. So Control C, Control V. And again, the value of the investment at the end is going to be our value at the beginning, plus our interest, plus our payment. We've already got that formula in there, so I'm just going to do again a Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and we can see that at the end of the second period, our investment is now worth $1,815.30. Now we do have all the formulas here that we need, and we just need to move them down. We can move each one down separately. Do a copy fill, copy fill, copy fill, copy fill. All the numbers are now generated for us. We can see at the end of her first year, her value of her investment is going to be worth $3,692.84. And at the end of 3 years, when she's ready to buy her car, the investment is worth $11,869.27.